Hello everyone, good to see you again. In this lab demonstration video, I'm gonna show how to summarize customers' purchase histories by market share, share of category requirement, share of wallet, and size of wallet in Excel. Please follow the instruction in this video very carefully to create an Excel file that calculates the matrix. And based on the matrix, please answer to the questions in your Word answer sheet file and submit both Excel file and Word answer sheet file to our course website. Alright, then let's get started. First of all, visit our course website to download the data file, choose panel.excel file, and start Microsoft Excel and load the data file. Then you can see this spreadsheet. In data file, you can find purchase histories of 100 customers for orange juice category at the local grocery store. There are 6 columns in the data file. The first column indicates the transaction number. The second column contains customer ID, which indicates who made the purchase in the transaction. Column C contains brand name, which indicates which orange juice brand was purchased in the transaction. And column D contains price variable, which indicates the unit price actually paid by the customer in the transaction. And column E contains volume variable, which indicates how many units were purchased in the transaction. And the last column contains expense variable, which indicates how much actually paid in total in the transaction. In this analysis, the marketing manager wants to calculate the market share of each brand in terms of volume and sales, and individual share of category requirement, share of wallet, and size of wallet for each customer. Then, let's help this manager. First, we are going to draw market share table. There are 4 brands: Florida's Natural, Private Brand, Simply Orange, and Tropicana. And the manager wants to draw the market share table by sales and volume. So, that's the goal of this analysis. To draw this table, we need to think about the equation of market share. Market share of a brand is given by sum of each sales divided by sum of all brand sales. So, we need these 2 numbers. Then, how to compute these 2 numbers in Excel? Let's think about this table. In this table, the row has sum of each brand sales value and each brand volume value. When we compute each row's sum, then in total column, we have the sum of all brand sales and sum of all brand volume. And now we have 2 values we need to compute each brand market share. So, if we can draw this table from Microsoft Excel, we can compute the market share, and finally we can have the market share table. So that's the goal of this analysis. We are going to draw the market share table using pivot table feature of Excel. To do so, please keep in mind the shape of this table. In each column, we are going to have brand, and each row, we are going to have our target variable, sales and volume variable. And each cell, we want to have some of our target variable. So Please keep this in your mind, and then let's go back to Microsoft Excel with the data. To draw pivot table, we need to click any non-empty cell, which means any cell with data, and go to Insert tab and click Pivot Table button. Then you can see this pop-up window, and Microsoft Excel automatically detects the range of the data. So you just need to click this OK button. Then you can see there is another empty spreadsheet, which is a little bit different from the standard spreadsheet. There is a space for pivot table, and on your right hand side, there is a setting panel. And the panel looks like a table. There is a columns, rows, and values. And we can set the columns, rows, and values whatever we want. Now, let's draw pivot table. Please recall the shape of the table we want to draw. In each column, we want to put the brand name. So, first put brand name in column pane. And you can see there are 4 brands here. And we want to compute the sum of the sales, which is coming from the expense variable, and the sum of the volume, which is coming from volume variable. So we are going to put these 2 variables into values. Okay. And then you can see the values in this columns pane. This indicates the name of target variables. So please move this to rows pane. Then you can see the shape of the table we want to have. In addition, I want to compute the average price for each brand as extra information. So I'm going to put this price variable as well into the values. And please look at this row. That is sum of price, which is not average price. To change this metric to average, we need to change the setting for this variable. You can see this I button in values pane. If you are using Microsoft Windows, then you can see small triangle button instead of this I button. Click this button. You can change the metric. So I want to compute the average of price. So I'm going to select this average. And then you can see the summary metric is changed to average, and click OK. Then now we have average of price instead of sum of price. Those numbers, sum of sales for each brand, and this grand total indicates sum of those numbers. So this is the sum of all brand sales. In the same manner, these numbers, sum of each brand volume purchased, and this grand total number is the sum of those numbers. So that is sum of total volume of all brands. And here we have the average price actually paid by the customers for each brand. So on average, Florida's Naturals price was $2.9. Private brand, that is $2.2. Simply Orange, that is about $4, and Tropicana, that is about $3.6. And now we can compute the market share. So I'm gonna make another table here. So market share, sales, and market share, volume. Florida's Natural's market share is given by dividing this number by the grand total of the sum of expense, right? So we need to divide the number in cell B5 by that in cell F5. And this column F is fixed for all brands, so we need to put the dollar mark before this F cell. That is, click this cell, and I'm going to put the equality sign and P5, which indicates the cell of the sum of expense for Florida's Natural, divided by the grand total cell, but I'm going to put dollar mark first and then put the cell address, that's the F5 of grand total, and I'm going to click enter. Then now I have the market share of Florida's Natural. And I'm going to just copy this cell and paste here, 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 and here, and here, and here. And now I have the market shares for each brand. For exposition, please select all those cells and click this percent style button. Then you can have percent style market share values. Alright, then I think you can answer the questions related to market share analysis based on this table. And just in case, I'm going to change the name of this sheet. So go to the name of the sheet and double click this name, and you can change the name. So I'm going to put pivot table MS and press enter. And this is my new name of this sheet. And just in case, I'm going to save this file. Next, we are going to compute the individual shareable category requirement and shareable wallet. We can compute the shareable wallet and shareable category requirement in the same manner. First, we need to think about our expected outcome. We want to draw this shape of table. In each column, again, we have the brands. And in each row, we have each customer. So we have 100 customers in this data. In total, we have 100 rows in this table. And each row stands for each customer. So this cell indicates the individual share of wallet or individual share of category requirement of this customer for this brand. This cell indicates the individual share of wallet or individual share of category requirement of customer 1 for private brand. That's what we want to draw. And to do that, again, we need to think about the equation. The shareable wallet or share of category requirement equation is given by, for customer I and brand A, we need to compute the sum of customer I's expenditure for this brand, and we also need to compute the sum of this customer's expenditure for all of the brands and divide the expenditure for specific brand by that for all brands, we can get the shareable wallet and shareable category requirement. So we need these two numbers. And how to compute these two numbers in Excel? Again, we are going to use the pivot table feature in Excel. To do that, we are going to draw this table. So first, we compute the sum of each customer's expenditure for each brand, and then make a row sum in the extra column. Then we have sum of each customer's expenditure for each brand, and we just need to divide this number by the grand total. Then we can have the individual shareable wallet, and in the same manner, we can do this for volume instead of expenditure. Then we can get the individual shareable category requirement. Keep in mind the shape of this table. And then let's go back to Excel. Please go back to the worksheet of the original data, that is sheet 1, and then we are going to make another pivot table. So click any non-empty cell and go Insert tab and click this pivot table button. And again, Excel automatically detects the range of the data, and you just need to click this OK button, and you have another pivot table sheet. And please think about the columns of our table. We want to have brand name again. So put brand name into columns. And this time, we want to compute the shareable wallet and shareable category requirement by each customer. So put customer ID into rows. And then we are going to draw separate table for shareable category requirement and shareable wallet. First, let's draw table for shareable category requirement. The shareable category requirement is based on the volume variable, so put volume into values. And now you can see the values set as the sum of volume, which is exactly what we want. And you can see the result here. This 1 indicates customer 1, this 2 indicates customer 2, and customer 1 in total in the data purchased 9 units of Florida's Natural over time, and 9 units of Simply Orange, and 7 units of Tropicana. And in total, she purchased 25 units of orange juice. In the same manner, we can interpret the result. Customer 2 purchased 4 units of Florida's Natural, 1 unit of private brand, 2 units of Simply Orange, and in total, 7 units. Then we can compute the shareable category requirement for each customer by dividing the sales volume of each brand by the sales volume in total. So first, we need to make a space to compute the shareable category requirement. To do that, I'm going to change the sheet name of this first pivot table shareable category requirement, and I'm going to make a new sheet. And please go back to the shareable category requirement pivot table. I'm going to select the table except for the first row of this pivot table. So I'm going to select this area from row number 4 to row number 104. And I'm going to copy and go to the new sheet I made, and I'm going to paste here. Now we have values here, and I'm going to make a new variables for shareable category requirement. First, ISCR Florida's Natural, ISCR Private Brand, ISCR Simply Orange, and ISCR Tropicana. And for the first customer, shareable category requirement for Florida's Natural is given by dividing this number by the grand total number. Okay, so I'm going to put equality mark and select the Florida's Natural volume, and I'm going to put division sign, and I'm going to select the grand total value. But this column, the grand total column, should be fixed across all of the brands. So I'm going to put dollar mark here to be fixed to this column. And then I'm going to press enter button. And now I have the share of category requirement for Florida's Natural for customer number 1. And I'm going to copy this cell and paste into the other cells for all of the customers and all of the brands. I'm going to give you one tip. In this cell, when it is selected, you can find very small rectangular button. When you move your mouse cursor over this rectangular button, you can see the cursor changes to black cross from white cross. At that time, click this button and drag it to the Tropicana cells. And then release the button. You can see the equation is successfully pasted for the other brands. Okay? And then select these 4 cells, and in the same manner, just move your mouse cursor over this small rectangular button, and this time double click it. And you can see automatically all the blank cells for the other customers filled by the shareable category requirement. Okay? And then I'm going to select these 4 columns and click this percent style button. Then you can see the percent style shareable category requirement. And that's it. That's all of what you have to do to compute the shareable category requirement. And I'm going to rename this sheet as individual shareable category requirement. So let's try to interpret. This 36% indicates the shareable category requirement of customer 1 for Florida's Natural is 36%. In the same manner, this 36% is the shareable category requirement of customer number 1 for Simply Orange. And one more thing, the grand total column. This column indicates the total volume purchased by each customer. So this is kind of another indicator of the size of these customers' purchases. And it will be used to answer one of the questions related to the shareable category requirement and shareable wallet. And in the same manner, you can draw the same table for shareable wallet. You just need to replace expense variable for volume variable to compute the shareable wallet. You can do it referring to our lab material. Just let me leave it as your exercise. Alright, that's all I have, and bye-bye.